Okay, welcome back to Fans Pulse Lap 2 on episode 30. Do you have a discussion topic you would love us to tackle on a future episode? You know what to do. Email, messages, WhatsApp us, get in touch with us through your preferred social media platform, or indeed simply comment below this very video, and we will absolutely take on board your suggestion, and you could well see your candidate discussion topic becoming a future 360 discussion. Okay, Fans Pulse Lap 2, something we have touched on a previous episode. However, we wanted to return and have a fresh look as prompted by 360 viewer Ed Gooch of Retro Fiberglass. Hello to you, Ed, and thank you very much for taking time to get in touch and for the suggestions. So we hope we do this justice, Ed. So we want to talk about, as encouraged by Ed, rider safety and equalisation, but I'll explain what I mean by that. So in the previous episode, we did identify the introduction of air fences as being one of the greatest innovations to the sport of speedway in the modern era, and very obviously, that was a safety first initiative which has thankfully prevented many more serious injuries to the rider community. Ed contacted us and asked for our opinion on the following. So Ed says, very few personal items of protection seem mandatory for riders to wear. Surely, like other motorsports, things like neck braces, air jackets, etc. should become mandatory. It seems to be personal choice as to what riders wear beyond the basics of helmets, Kevlars, back protectors, etc. So, should this choice be taken away from the riders, as they are competitive animals by nature, looking for every possible gain? Ty gave an interview stating he deliberately looks to wear the least amount possible to save weight. So guys, Simon, I'll bring you in on this first of all. Does Ed have a point about the sport potentially, the sport should choose to almost enforce additional rider safety, wearable protections for riders, and take the choice away from riders in a well-intentioned sense? Discuss.
Well, I wear as much as I can, to be honest. At the end of the day, I'm getting older now. I don't bounce quite like these kids, or quite as well, but different things in life, innit? You know, I'm not riding speedway to earn a living. I've got a full-time job and a little boy who's dependent on me, so I need to be fit and healthy the best I can be. So I think the neck braces are a thing. I think from what I believe abroad, maybe Sweden, Denmark, etc., to a certain age you have to wear them, and I think that should be something for England, like, you know, even if it's compulsory even to my age, it doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, rider safety is rider safety. We don't go out to crash, but like I say, I wear as much as I can, and at the end of the day, I just think you're an idiot if you don't wear a lot of protective stuff and you go get crashed. But don't sit there crying about it. Don't blame the fence. Don't blame us, because there's only one real idiot to blame, and that's yourself. That's how I see it. You know, I buy the best helmet money can buy. You get one in life. I'm a believer that I wear the best you can get. I wouldn't wear anything other than that. So we'll just get it in there. I'm lucky because Marcus at STS, he's the man for that. He, you know, sort of keeps a lot of the boys on track with that. Without people like him, it would make it a lot harder for riders. So thank you to him. But yeah, you know, if you're brain dead enough to not to wear a back protector and you could break your back, don't sit there crying. Don't go right to the Speedway Benevolent Fund asking for money, because you own what's not there.
Thanks, Simon. Robbo, I don't know if you have any insight into other motorcycle disciplines, Robbo, but you know, Ed suggests that in other motorcycle sports that the governing bodies will, more so than Speedway, sort of enforce and regulate that riders have to wear presumably the whole gambit of all available types of body-worn protection, and that's not the case in Speedway. So Ed's fundamental question is, should Speedway reconsider that, and in the interests of rider protection and rider safety, almost make more body-worn equipment mandatory?
I think he's probably referring mostly to road racing there, because I think that's where the more stringent rules are enforced. Not really sure if motocross goes down them lines as far as the protection goes. But a lot of it, I agree with Simon. I was totally exactly like Lambo there. I wore as much as possible. I probably weighed an extra 2 stone after getting my kit on because I wore that much. But I look at this prevention's better than cure. That was my opinion, and I wore knee braces, I wore back protectors. Obviously, everyone. I think most people wear back protector. I wore shoulder pads, elbow pads, chest pads, hip pads, everything. A cup. You got to have your protect your future as well there. So yeah, I wore everything, and I was so much heavier. I found it a little bit difficult to move as freely as I would have liked, but although I did pick up some injuries, I did prevent a lot as well, I think. As far as making it mandatory goes, yeah, there's probably should be certain rules. A back protector is one, I think. I'm pretty certain that is a rule, but I think that is pretty much the only one. Neck braces, yes, it's definitely a good thing. I did wear neck braces for a while. It's after not wearing them for my entire career, then started to wear one. It took a little bit of getting used to, but I got used to it. I wore it for a bit, and then for some reason I just stopped. I don't really know why, but yeah, this is definitely one of the things that should be considered. What else could you? I mean, elbow pads, knee braces. Yes, can you make them compulsory? I don't really know. I mean, I wouldn't have never rode without them. Even if I ride a motocross bike or anything, I always wear that kind of stuff as well. Like I said, prevention's better than cure when it comes to injuries. So the neck braces are probably the next thing which should be, if they're going to make anything mandatory, that I would say that would be the next thing to do.
Thanks, Robo. Dean, just to bring you on this, I outside looking in, obviously I'm not a rider, but outside looking in, I do sense that in the modern day speedway, that more and more riders have taken on that personal responsibility. I think I see more neck and knee braces being worn than ever before. Perhaps less so the air jacket contraption that some riders have. But otherwise, Dean, all of the kit that Robbo rhymed off there, shoulder pads and all that good stuff, it's all fairly basic kit, really, isn't it? I mean, it's not the most sophisticated stuff in the world.
Yeah, I mean, I always used it. Well, I still do, even when I'm racing with Jap. I still use, like one of those, like force field make one with the pads built into the shoulder and the back pad built in, and I still wear one of those. I still wear knee pads, still wear elbow pads, and I use a shoey helmet. I don't think you can really scrimp and save on your safety, but I know a lot of riders, well, not so much in England, but like in Poland they do, they're literally wearing nothing. And the back protectors are them little tiny little slimline, lightweight things, and that's, but then again, it's in pursuit of speed, and I suppose when you're in pursuit of being the best, that you do what you got to do. But maybe, like I said, it should be took out of their hands, because if everybody wore it, then there's no advantage, is there? But slightly different subject, but they need to get onto the weight advantage thing, the heavier rider bike thing. It needs to be somehow took away so as they can wear the protection without being at a disadvantage. I mean, I'm not knocking speedway riders per se, but when they are intelligent, but they're not sort of, how can I put this? They're risk takers.
Yeah.
They take risks. That's what they do. That's what they are. Do you know what I mean? And to the normal man in the street, you ride a bike with no brakes. You just, but that's because they're risk takers. So riding without protection, well, it's just another risk, isn't it? But but it shouldn't be. It should be. I'm not saying I'm not fully on board with neck braces. I mean, there was, when they first came out, there was a load of things with that kid in America on that motocross who they said the neck brace caused his broken back because of the way he fell. Well, maybe not. I don't know. I can't say I've actually seen one sort of that's actually been effective. But then again, you don't really know, because you don't really know what sort of impact that the neck had, and you know, did the neck brace make any difference? But I mean, you shouldn't be discouraged from wearing one, you know. But definitely the rest of it, the back protector should be a full back protector, in my opinion. You know, like the road racing, they wear them that stick out at the back.
Yes, yes.
Like maybe that's the thing. I don't know. It's I mean the air ones. I've never sort of tried one. I personally would be panicking that it wouldn't go off.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because
Mid-race or
there's been
something,
many. My work ever crashes at Newport, and I never left the bike.
Mm.
Do you know what I mean? I went into the fence full pelt, and I never actually came off the bike. And when I landed on the floor, I was still on the bike. So would that airbag have gone off?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Listen, just to broaden the conversation, and you've touched on it, Dean. So the second part of Ed's question was, quote, should the sport have a minimum combined weight for the motorcycle and the rider? That way all riders could wear these additional items without disadvantage. It would support safety, but it might also even lead to some closer racing. Simon Lambert, any views on that? That's what I meant by the equalisation part of this conversation.
It's like a rubbish, mate. That's my opinion. You're never going to be able to do it. I weigh anywhere between 11.5 and 12 stone. With all my suit on, let's say I weigh 13 stone. Dan Bewley, with all his kit on, he still probably weighs about 8 stone. So what are you going to do? You're going to chuck 5 stone of weights on him, or
that's a lot. 5 stone, that would be a lot. Yeah.
With all due respect, Dan Bewley probably spends 10 grand on a Peter Johnson's engine, whereas I can't afford that. I have Jeff Howarth engines, Sean Wilson engines direct from the GM factory that are bog standard. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, Speedway comes down to 2 things. 1 is talent and 2 is money. It is as simple as that. You imagine sticking 5 stone of weights on Dan Bewley's bikes to effectively make me the same as him.
That's why I was never any good.
Yeah,
it's probably big me. You know what I mean?
I never had talent or money.
Yeah, that would sound ridiculous.
They say all this weight and stuff, right? Let's say the British final, for example. You got Robert, you got Dan, you got Charles Wright, you got Bomber. This isn't being critical on anyone. Heaviest rider in that race was probably Chris Harris.
Yeah.
And he would admit that by admission. Okay, he came last by, and that's Whisker or whatever the word is.
Yeah.
But he was in front 3 times. So if weight was that much of a difference, he would have been lapped. It's rubbish, mate. Absolutely a load of rubbish. You are what you are who you are, you get on with it, you go. It's that simple.
That's why we have you on here, Simon Lambert, to tell it as it is. So Ed, don't take offence that Simon has rubbished that notion, but it's interesting because Ty Woofenden did talk publicly and suggested, at least for the Grand Prix, that maybe they ought to do that equalisation thing, and maybe in the Grand Prix field, Simon, that the riders are much of a muchness in terms of building weight to begin with.
I don't do it in Formula 1.
I don't know. Don't honestly know. Yeah.
You put Lando Norris in the car that was at the back of the field. I bet the car at the back of the field wouldn't finish at the back of the field. It would finish middle order.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's money. You know, I'm not massive into Formula 1. I think it's Piastri in it and Norris at the front at the minute with Verstappen. Well, where's Lewis Hamilton now? It's at Ferrari. You know, maybe next year they'll spend a bit more and they'll get a rocket ship and they'll go good. It honestly, mate, it's like a lot of it is pure talent, and unfortunately, Robbo and Dean and Tim riders are still going, but we all have a talent, but we're just not as good as like Dan Bewley. Do you know what I mean? But then there's other riders that are not as good as me, and there's other riders that are not as good as them.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You all have to start somewhere, and this is why I hate keyboard warriors, because we all go, we don't go to become last, we all go try and some money, we all go try and put a show on. It's that simple. Weight is rubbish, talent and money talks.
There's a natural pecking order in all sports, and Speedway's no different, Simon Lambert. Robbo, we're talking here, generally we're talking here about safety, improving rider safety, right? So we'll kick the tyres a little bit on rider-worn safety and whether that should be mandatory, etc. But shouldn't the sport first and foremost Stuart, try to resolve the issue of air fences that still lift and allow riders to slide underneath them. That must be the number one priority, surely.
It's got to be. It's got to be. That's happening has caused some serious injuries over the years. I remember one in particular at Coventry. I think Chris Old broke his leg, if I remember right. Bike went on, slid into the fence, lifted it, and he followed it in and hit the armcore behind it. And it's definitely an issue that needs sorting out. What the answer to it is, I don't know. I mean, we've all got ideas, I would imagine. The thing is, it's not just having the idea. You've got to try and test it as well. It's not just, you need to make sure it works. Definitely that is something that does need addressing, I think, and it's caused numerous injuries over the years.
It cannot be beyond the capability of man to prevent a big bag of air from lifting on impact. Anyway, listen, we'll draw a close to that particular topic. So big thanks again to you, Ed, of Retro Fiberglass. Thank you very much for getting in touch to suggest that particular discussion topic. I hope we did it reasonable justice. Perhaps not a lot of support from Simon Lambert's quarter, at least around the equalisation proposal, Ed. But listen, in the fullness of time, no doubt some more safety innovations, that rider-worn ones, will creep into Speedway as well. And right here, right now, as we've just touched on at the end of that conversation, perhaps the air fence issue is the number one priority to try and reduce any residual injury risk that the sport has. So if you too would like to do what Ed has achieved and have your candidate discussion topic featured on a future episode of 360 Speedway, please get in touch. WhatsApp us, email us, or message under any of our social media posts, or indeed this video on YouTube.